Call the meeting to order. Everyone please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Okay, Ashley, can I have roll call, please?
Cavalier. Kressel.
Here.
Klatt.
Here.
Vedbrotten.
Here.
Melby. Jurdy. Here. Erickson.
Here.
Briggs.
Okay, it's time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address the council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium. State your first, last name, and address, please.
Good evening. I'd like to just introduce myself. My name is Joel Schwartz. I live at 716 North Main Street. My family and I have been here in Crookston for less than a month, about 3 weeks now. I'm just here to see what goes on. It's nice to meet everybody.
Thanks for coming. Anyone else? Chad, anybody on the phone bridge, please? No, Your Honor, I will close the bridge. Thank you.
Agent logged up.
Okay, we have one public information tonight. We got Tracy from Brady Martz here. She's gonna go through our audited financial statements. Thanks for coming.
So thank you for having me tonight, and I'd like to thank you for hiring Brady Martz to perform the audit of the city of Crookston. In addition, I would like to thank your staff for their assistance during our audit. On page 2, I believe everybody should have a copy of the audited financial statements. On page 2 is the independent auditor's report. The city received an unmodified opinion, which is the same opinion you received in the prior year. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position and the changes in financial position in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. On page 16 is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the governmental funds. The general fund balance increased $492,292 and ended the year with a fund balance of $5,184,435. The SSD flood control fund balance decreased $97,186 and ended the year with a fund balance of $3,656,090. The improvement fund balance decreased $9,980,132 and ended the year with a deficit fund balance of $648,820. The Parks and Recreation fund balance decreased $17,196 and ended the year with a fund balance of $1,471,789. The street construction fund balance increased by $9,508,380 and ended the year with a fund balance of $0. The municipal land and building fund balance increased $49,235 and ended the year with a fund balance of $821,445. The non-major governmental fund balances increased $596,210 and ended the year with a fund balance of $2,165,122. On page 20, is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position for the proprietary funds. The water fund had a change in net position of a loss before transfers of $77,599 and ended the year with a net position of $10,277,425. The wastewater fund had a loss before transfers of $84,826 and ended the year with a net position of $2,738,132. The internal service fund had income before transfers of $102,466 and ended the year with a net position of $1,389,067. On page 69,
59?
69. 69 is our report on Minnesota legal compliance. And we noted no instances of noncompliance. On page 70 is our report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters, based on an audit of the financial statements performed in accordance with the government auditing standards. We noted one finding, and the finding has been reported as a material weakness. A material weakness is a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control such that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement of the city's financial statements will not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. And the finding is the city has elected to have the auditors assist with the preparation of the financial statements. We'd recommend that the city consider the additional risk of having auditors assist in the preparation of the financial statements, and as a compensating control, the city should establish internal control policy to document the annual review of the financial statements and the disclosure checklist. On page 72 is our report on compliance for each major federal program and on internal control over compliance required by the uniform guidance. We audited the highway planning and construction program, and in our opinion, the city complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements that could have a direct and material effect on the program. So those were the items I wanted to cover in your report. Just one thing that I did note, in the last few years, you've seen some changes with your city administration and with the city finance director. As the city continues to move through a time of transition, I'd encourage your finance department to take time to review policies and procedures to ensure internal controls are in place and to ensure you continue to protect the city staff and the city's assets. Any questions?
Well, other years when we've done our budgets and our audits and stuff, they've said that we've got too much in reserve sometimes. Is that kind of the case now?
Your general fund balance is currently at about 88% of your of the general fund current expenditures. The Office of the State Auditor recommends a fund balance of between 35 to 50%, but that's also looking at general fund and special revenue funds. So yours is, it's high, but depending on what you have going on in the city.
Okay.
Isn't it, when we spoke, we talked about the internal controls, and you made some recommendations to myself and our financial staff regarding what we might do to enhance that, an opportunity to make it better, correct?
Yes.
And one of those was to potentially employ outside auditors or outside accountants to assist with or prepare those financial statements. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's something I want you all to know that the financial department is considering. Again, it's an opportunity. As Ms. Brueggemann has indicated, and you all know, over the last few years, we've had change in our finance department leadership. We've had change in our city administration leadership, and the internal controls have remained unchanged, or lack of them. But the present staff is working to seek what changes we can to make them more internally consistent and stronger. Ryan and I, as well as Kathy Carlson, and we've hired a new individual to help with accounts payable. So some of the duties which were performed by our city financial director, our clerk was performing some of those duties, as well as our account Kathy, are now being shifted to that individual. We've hired to relieve the staff of some of the things that they couldn't attend to as well in the past, and they will be able to do that. And we're also considering then those suggestions that Ms. Bergman and her firm have made regarding preparation of the financial statements. Would that be fair characterization?
Yes, in addition, also just the reconciling of subsidiary records to the general ledger. I think I have visited with both finance and city administrator on a number of different areas that can be reviewed, so.
Well, some of these findings, though, well, when I was going through this, it can be found on, what, page 77 through page 79?
And the majority of those are prior year findings. So we have, in the current year report, we include both current year and prior year, required when you have a single audit to show both.
Okay. Well, I feel that, you know, Ryan has got a good jump on this now. I know he was swimming last budget cycle, and, you know, and I think Ryan is doing a good job following the policy and procedures, so thanks for all that you do.
So yes, there are changes that are contemplated and being explored to hopefully get stronger internal controls, and Ryan is leading that. I'm involved in that, as are other financial people. So I'm comfortable that we're addressing that single finding for this year, and as you know, then the others are 2020 findings, which do not appear again this year. So there we go.
Any other questions for Tracy? Thank you for your time.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, moving on. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Christie. Is there a second by Delane? Discussion? Hearing none, let's have roll call, please.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Bedbroughton,
Aye.
Erickson, or excuse me, Jurdy. Aye. Erickson.
Aye.
Okay, this brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second? Second. By Steve, thank you. Can I have roll call, please?
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Bedbroughton,
Aye.
Jurdy. Erickson.
Aye. Okay, no public hearings. This brings us to the regular agenda. Ashley?
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution to approve the City of Crookston redistricting ward boundaries.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second? I'll second. Thank you, Christie. Discussion. Courtney, a little update, please.
This will probably apply to the first three resolutions. As you know, we did a detachment some time ago involving property near or where the Sisters of St. Benedict had their gardens. That was in a ward. So those geographic boundaries need now be redefined. There are no residents there, there are no buildings there, there are no occupants there. It does not affect and did not affect our redistricting for the election purposes. But we need to do this because it's actually in our ordinances, the definitions. So we have to change the ordinance to comply with the actual physical geographic boundaries.
So this is just for over by the mount then?
It was the Biermeyer
The
property.
Biermeyer
Oh,
property.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
That's
Okay.
just redefining that, but then we have to amend the whole
Okay.
entirety of our ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you, Corky. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Kressel.
Aye.
Platt.
Aye.
Vedbrotten.
Aye.
Jurdy. Erickson.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.02 is a resolution calling for a public hearing with respects to amending the City Code, Chapter 11, entitled Ward Boundaries.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Delane. Discussion?
Again, we have to have a public hearing because we're changing the ward boundaries.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Kressel.
Aye.
Platt.
Aye.
Vedbrotten.
Aye.
Jurdy. Erickson.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.03 is to introduce an ordinance of the City of Crookston, Minnesota, amending the City Code, Chapter 11 by changing the section 11.01 ward boundaries, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
This is ordinance. It's an ordinance, Your Honor. Sorry, my bad. So it's an ordinance.
To approve this ordinance?
Correct, yes.
Gotcha, thank you. Glad you're on top of this. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Christie. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Joe. Discussion?
Again, this is actually the introduction of the ordinance. Essentially, it's first reading to amend our ordinances to reflect the detachment land and its effect on our geographic boundaries.
Further discussion?
Now that we're doing this, and it's gonna be a public hearing, and all the wards are in there, if somebody comes up and says anything about that, does it
No,
include
that's not relevant. This
Okay.
is just the effect on that particular
piece of,
ward.
okay,
None of the
Thank you.
other ward boundaries are
All right.
changed so as to necessitate
this one,
this one.
okay,
To have
thank you.
better- So I just want to clarify that we will not need to worry about having a roll call on this because this is just the first introduction. The
Yep.
second and final, we'll have a roll call for this.
Okay, thank you, Ashley.
Yep.
All right, moving on to 8.04 then, right?
Yes, Your Honor. 8.04 is a resolution to approve the Otter Tail Power Company electric line easement for the water plant.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Second?
Second.
By Steve, thank you. Discussion?
Now, where they had their easement before to get electric to the water plant? Or,
I could do it, but Greg will do it much better than I will.
But previously, they had a power line that came through the front portion of the property to the south on Fairfax. But they've actually done a radials feed, so they fed it from two different power lines to the water plant property. And that's an Otter Tail power switching capability, not for the city. But basically, they needed that additional easement going through the property to bring in that secondary line. So it's fed from two possible different feeds or sources of power.
is there anything, any chance that, because I know when I was reading through that, you can't build anything or put anything permanent over where it's at? So is there anything that's gonna be, anybody that's gonna wanna build something that's gonna be a problem?
I don't want to speak for Brandon, but I think he probably located the utility lines for the company. I'm assuming that there would be nothing future, but I'll let him answer that.
They came in down the road and they're like 10 feet off the plant, so there's the areas they came in is, essentially unbuildable. But it's good for the water treatment plant, because last winter the line broke and it was only fed from the one direction. We ended up having to run a generator for one day. So at least now, if we have an underground break, where they can kill it from one direction and feed from the other. So.
Okay.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Kressel,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Ved Broughton,
Aye.
Jurdy, Erickson.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.05 is a resolution to approve the Otter Tail Power Company electric line easement for Ag Innovation.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane. Is there a second?
I'll second, Your Honor.
Thank you, Christie. Discussion.
Again, we need an easement over city property to get the power line to the Ag Innovation Center. Again, I think the answers which Greg gave and Brandon gave apply. They've looked at it. It gets it to the Ag Innovation Center just where they need it.
Okay.
So
And
can
I-
they tie off of that if something else goes in there pretty easily? It's kind of centrally located in the lot there, but
Just to clarify, it's only a 30-foot easement they required on this one because it actually is a small jut of land of city-owned property that was not previously had a easement on it. So it's 30 feet of easement, then gets to Ag Innovation property, and then it's all within their rights between an agreement between Ag Innovation and Otter Tail Power at that point.
so where if another organization business goes in there, they can feed off that same thing off of Ingersoll then, or is that their plan, or what?
I
To
think
feed
the
that
easement
property?
also continues along the roadway. This is just an additional 30 feet that veers off into Ag Innovation. So in the future, if there's a large industrial, probably would have to require another easement across this property as well.
Across the city property or across Ag
Across the
Innovation?
city property.
Okay. Okay, and it's being, when you say 30 feet, I know there's other things that have been looking at or want to purchase that land out there. Is this going to make that a shorter chunk of land? Or,
That's a city discussion and city right, whether they want to sell that portion of land in the future, but the easement goes with the land if it was to be sold.
okay,
Yes, that's why that's only 30 feet off this one.
okay, so it's okay. But they can still put a road over it though, can't they?
Oh, yes.
Okay, it's just not a structure. Because if I remember right, when John Deere wanted to put that wash bin or whatever, they had a problem with something over there too. But,
That's before my time.
Yep.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Kressel,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Ved Broughton,
aye,
Jurdy, Erickson.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Reports from staff. Corky, please.
Been a busy 2 weeks. We've met with a number of people from the university to the on-call firefighters, to additional people wanting clarification on the transient merchant license. We've been talking with people who are interested in purchasing land in the city, and I think those talks have gone very well. I think we'll see that. We've also been working with city staff, and Ryan will be better able to talk about this, but we did finish the audit, which took a lot of time. Also, as you see in your packets before you, there are 8 presentations tonight on preliminary budget. Been working on that. So it's been a busy but fruitful 2 weeks. And I want to congratulate the Oxcart Day Committee and all of those people who were involved. It's my understanding and my personal perception that it was well attended and well appreciated and well enjoyed by all of the people who participated.
Thanks.
And I want to congratulate Tom. He is the singer who was best able to sing or fake sing
Yeah, lip sync.
on the lip sync contest. And so I assume this is your last night here then with us, because you'll be a mass singer contestant soon. But congratulations.
All right, thanks, Corky. Let's start with Jake tonight.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. First off, I just want to say thanks, a big shout out and thank you to Libby and the fantastic job she did for Oxcart again this year. The Park and Rec staff, my staff, kudos to them. They did a fantastic job with getting things set up that Libby needed. And then Brandon's staff as well. Brandon and I talked, throughout the week, and we just kind of worked plans out together, and I think it went very smoothly. So thank you to everyone involved that helped with that setup. So, like I said, Park and Rec staff last week, they just did a lot of setting up for the ox cart. We got everything downtown, and then Thursday morning we had to get everything out to the rink. So it was quite the move, but we got her done, and I think it was a good time. So the parade was fun. I got asked to drive the Zamboni in the parade, so I drove the Zamboni, the one that we use on our outdoor rinks. So that was fun. Get to see all the kids and families out and having a good time and enjoying that parade. Yesterday we started our compressor. The Blue Line Club, in their contract, they start their contract September 1st. So we will hopefully be making ice tomorrow. So
this might be a silly question, but during the ox cart day when it was inside the arena, it was very hot, and I'm just wondering,
Nope.
you know what I'm gonna ask?
Yep.
You can't cool the floor to make it cooler in there?
no, we started Sunday, and the floor temp was roughly 85, maybe 90 degrees, and then today it's at 29. So, we started it right away in the morning, so.
Plus, I'm sure it's a ton of money and stuff like that.
Yeah, once you fire it up, there goes, yeah. So, but we just have one rink that we're gonna use. We're gonna try the main rink to start off with, so we don't have to fire up the other two rinks right away. So it's kind of holding off.
So is there a thought of what can be done in the future if we have activities in the CVC during the summer? I mean, it's,
With everyone that I've talked to about some of the issues and stuff out there, we do have potential to put an AC unit out at the CSC. Now, whether we put it on all three rinks or we just, put one, see how it goes, and then work that out. But yes, air conditioning can be put in out there.
hopefully we start to have more and more stuff in the CVC, and especially during the summer, during its downtime. And if it's summertime, it should be nice to have a cool atmosphere for who's ever gonna do anything in there.
Yep, that's something to definitely look into, so.
I think we had a similar issue last year too, Dylan, with the heat when they had it inside for a day or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that, the CVC is a community, supposed to be a community, building, and, I'd like to see it get more use in the summertime for different types of
Events. Yep.
I
I
guess
know
if
we
you're,
looked at it prior years and boy, I'd spend a unit, but
yeah.
it's one of those things.
So
So
then we're back to, it's just a hockey building.
Right.
So, I mean, we either gotta make it friendly for people that don't wanna attend hockey and make it a community building, or then remove the CVC and say Crookston Hockey Arena. It's just my thought.
And as we always say, the city administrator and city finance, sounds like a great idea. How do we pay for it?
I know.
I think if we can get more things in the summertime in there, maybe we can find the justification. So it'd be good to try to start pushing that this summer.
You do have to be careful what you put in there though, because I know we've tried to do other things and you can't do things with heavy equipment or that kind of stuff because your floor isn't that thick over your cooling lines. So you gotta really be careful with that stuff too.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Jay probably can come up with some creative solutions and things for the summer.
Yes, definitely can. Also, 5th and 6th grade tackle football, they start tomorrow. I just made the meeting on time here. We had our equipment handout tonight. had a parents meeting, gave them the schedule, practice schedules and all that stuff, so, we have 21 kids out right now, so, and I'm gonna guess we're gonna probably get a few more within the next week or two, so. Adult volleyball starts Wednesday. As of now, we have 6 teams. Our youth volleyball starts, September 5th and September 7th for the 5th and 6th grader. That's a travel league. And then, we have like an in-house for starters, 3rd through 5th, which starts September 10th. The registration is still open for that. And I just wanted to remind everyone that, our registration is open for all our youth and adult activities that we offer for the fall and summer. So that's all I have. Any other questions?
I've got one. How did the meeting go with the university's request at Sports Center regarding
Curling?
curling and possible alcohol?
Well, we have to, Corky, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have to amend our policy for the alcohol. I did have a meeting with Michelle last week, I believe it was, Tuesday, and we talked, and we are gonna have curling. We set dates and times, and we're gonna go on the Gold Arena, and we're gonna start January 15th, I believe it was, a Wednesday, 11th, through the 15th of February. Yep. Wednesday nights, so,
Is this gonna include the public too, do you think?
yes,
Able to?
yep. So students, faculty, staff from UMC, and then the public is open. We talked earlier, I just told her, I said, you know, it's really best to have at least 4 teams to start a league. She came back within 24 hours and said she has 4 teams. So then we sat down and we talked, and the curling's gonna happen. But the alcohol, we are unsure of right now, so.
I can speak to that. I had a fairly lengthy conversation today with Michelle Christofferson, Director of Outreach. What, is that what you are? Okay, I mean, I just want to make sure. I think we already started with the help of the city clerk, crafting potential language because we do have a specific ordinance provision, 111.86, that says during amateur athletic events in the CSC, no alcohol can be served to participants or attendees. That's a significant roadblock, but I think we can create language that's appropriate for potentially serving alcohol during UMC scheduled hockey games. But we'll be working on that. We've done the timeline to see if the ordinance can be amended, and that's obviously your discretion. We will present language for you to consider at the next meeting, and we'll meet the timeline if you decide that's what you want to do for the opening game, which is October 14th, 2022.
And Corky, when will that be brought forward?
Next meeting will be the proposed, will be the first reading and introduction. And then the procedures are that we then have to call for a public hearing, which would be held at the next meeting in September, which I believe would be September 26th. And then the public hearing would be held on October 10th, and a vote at that time would be undertaken by the council. If you believe the language and philosophy is appropriate, then it could meet the deadline for the 14th.
Yeah, and this is for the hockey, right, the hockey games?
The
Bonspiel,
UMC
was that also-
hockey games,
Okay,
the Bonspiel is an entirely different matter,
okay.
because it's not a university-sponsored athletic event, so we have to look a bit further, but I think that could be accomplished, and that's starting in January. So we've got a little bit of time, and it's a little bit different. But our ordinances are fairly, no, they're not fairly, they're very clear about what they are now. And without amendments, those activities would not be able to have consumption of alcohol. And what makes the Bonspiel a little bit different is its participants as opposed to attendees.
I think when they had curling a couple of years back, they served alcohol, am I correct?
I think they did.
Yep.
I don't know how they did it.
Yes, well, is that?
I have no doubt they did that, I'm not saying it was right.
The city, I'm not sure who hired, if it was Park and Rec or if it was the Blue Line Club, but there was a hired licensed vendor
Okay.
that did have a liability license along with their alcohol licenses.
Yeah.
And it rotated between the three establishments here in Crookston, Drafts, Irishman Shanty.
And mugs.
Mugs.
Mugs, I believe.
And I have no doubt that was done.
Yep.
I'm just not saying it was
Done.
correct, but it was done. So we'll just attempt to make it correct.
Something to look into, thanks. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
Greg, anything tonight?
No report tonight.
Thank you. Brandon?
We were busy helping prep for ox cart days. Park got the majority of the work. We assisted for the most part, but thanks to Libby and her volunteers, it's fun to see all the kids get the same opportunities I had as a kid. So it's fun to see them all at similar events. Or not saying it's the same as it was when I was a kid, but I have fond memories of ox cart days. So it was a lot of fun to see it this weekend. We're removing some trees that are not diseased trees, so we can remove them right now. The street crews are doing some blacktop repairs. We hope to get Woodland and there's one other one. There's two fairly large. Oh, it's over by the Dairy Queen, but they're gonna work on that. And they should start putting blacktop down on 1st and 2nd Sunflower Street and South Washington this week, the first layers. Tom, you'll be well, you already know this, but the signs are down.
I was gonna say, thanks for getting them down.
So and the wastewater control upgrade is almost complete. They got some small tweaks to do, but for the most part, the panels are all installed. So that was that ARPA funded wastewater improvement project. So
Is that in the plans now to overlay Alexander there next year, or what's your plan there?
yep, that'll get that portion, that one block of Alex that got dug up for water main will get reconstructed.
Full reconstruct?
Yes, because it needs new curb.
Because are they gonna have a choice on the curb up there? 'Cause I think some of them do want a choice on that.
I would prefer to not have half curbs, but we can have the conversation, I guess. It's hard for the plow guys when on half curbs, because that curb is their guide in the middle of winter. So, a lot of the people that wanted their half curb on Stevens Drive called me to complain that their grass was tore up this spring. So
Yeah, I got a lot of that. They wanted it, but after it was done, after one winter, they did not want it.
they didn't want it anymore. So
Is there not some type of universal across the board for the curbs?
I mean, they're both acceptable for the half curb, you know what I'm talking about when I talk half curb, okay. I think they're both, I would have to do some more research, but I believe they're both acceptable.
I think they're great in the summer, but yeah, in the winter they're.
Yeah, I'm sure they're perfect in Florida, where they never have to plow. But I would prefer to not have half curbs, but anyways.
All right, thanks, Brandon. Chad, anything tonight?
I do have a few updates here.
Thank you.
I just wanted to report that I've been working closely with Darren and his staff. We are working to upgrade the storage closet to the armory and data center. We've been talking to electricians for power needs in that area and for low voltage wiring in that area, getting a lot of things corrected. Working with our managed service partner, Exogen, we placed the order of the servers, and of the new networking equipment. So they will be fulfilling that order. We should start seeing parts showing up soon for moving into the new data center. Also, we did some adjustments back and forth with the 5-year agreement with Halstead Telephone Company. Corky was of great assistance with that, and they were very accepting of those language suggestions. We'll be signing that contract. Fiber is already moving into all 11 of the facilities with the goal of being complete early part of September. So we will be onlining with that new internet service soon. I'll be drawing on my old high school teaching skills and hosting an in-service for city departments for our new website, Civic Plus, and assisting departments with updating their content on our new website. So some refreshes coming there. And then finally, just very, very pleased to report that our brand new IT technician, Zach Governale, he started with us last week, and he, in my opinion, was a perfect fit for our needs. I've gotten feedback from all departments that he is doing an excellent job, and I am in complete agreement with that. And that's all I have.
So he's your rock star then?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Brian?
Well, the audit is done. It was a very long and lengthy process. We went from Brady Martz, Kim, and had her working papers. Tracy wanted to approach this year's audit a lot different and create her own working papers. Kathy and I spent a lot of time going back to 2006 and current of different things that she was asking us for and needed us to produce. And I think it was a pretty intense audit for purposes of what's on your desk. I mean, there's a lot of time there that doesn't necessarily get reflected, but I want to say a thank you to Kathy because she definitely did a lot of work on this audit with me too, which was greatly appreciated. And also a thank you to Ashley because she has done accounts payable for 3 years. So she was doing it before I came, and now with this payroll clerk and accounting clerk, it's going to help relieve that so she can focus on her accounting, her clerk duties, so that'll be good. A little bit with the MIF applications that we've got, we still have D. The paperwork is going to proceed to the next level for them once they get their constructing all done. Then the equipment's going to go in, that's what their MIF is for. But the gal that we were working with has moved on to another position, so we will be getting another person in that position also. And New Flyer, we're just kind of waiting for them to contact us and give us receipts, and then they would qualify to get their funding from what was approved for them. And that's all I have for that part of the meeting. Questions?
All right, thanks, Ryan. Let's start with Christie tonight.
We had the Crookston Park and Rec meeting last week, and I think Jake probably did himself somewhat of a disservice in all the great things that they did this summer, not mentioning them, but they were able to fix up the hut and had some new sinks and toilets in there. They implemented a new batting cage for the summer programs. They had 579 participants, so it was pretty awesome. For swimming lessons over the summer, they've had 126 participants, so that was really great to hear. And Club Kid was at 62, golf was at 57, T-ball was at 73, so a lot of great stuff going on there. So just really appreciate all the hard work that Park and Rec is doing in that regard. I also want to give a special thanks to Park and Rec as well as Public Works for all the hard work you guys did on Oxcart this weekend. It was amazing. My kids had such a great time. Also, shout out to Libby and the crew too for Oxcart Days. It's just a wonderful thing that we look forward to every year and a great thing for the community. So thank you for everyone for participating in that. Outside of that, I think that is all I had for today.
Thank you. Steve?
Same with the Oxcart thing. It was an amazing weekend. I think it was a great turnout, and I think it's a great investment, that we put in it as a city. Also for the fireworks, I think we need to keep looking at that. I know we're going to do some creative financing for this budget year, but coming up. But I think that's something that a lot of people enjoy. There's a lot of people downtown with it, and Park and Rec, amazing guys. Of course, it's gotta rain right, on a Friday night at, annual Oxcart thing, rain one day, but that was a good weekend. Thanks for everybody's help to get it together.
Thanks, Steve. Joe?
Well, everybody said pretty much everything on Oxcart days. It was a great time. When you don't see these guys roaming around, you know they did their job well when they're silent and out of the way and there's no trouble. Everything went smooth and well. And as far as CBV, the new Visitors Bureau, our visitors guide is out. Doing a good job there. Lots of things starting to happen and talk about. So that's about all I have.
Thank you. Dwayne?
Nope, same thing with everybody said about the Oxford days. Other than that, no report.
Thank you. Tom?
Oxcart Days, same thing, it's been covered pretty good, and just wish everybody good luck that put their name in for council seats and mayor.
Thank you. Just a few things, everybody kind of kudos with the ox cart, but you know, we couldn't do it without city staff, street, park, police. I mean, it's a handful, kind of gotta laugh at Officer Rascott, he's kind of a chatty Cathy, but that's okay. Had one other item and I can't think of it, but it was, lots of candy at the parade this year. Lots of candy. I'm glad I had a little guy next door to me because he needed an extra bag and I gave him everything that was thrown my way, so he was happy. And his dad was happy that he got the toothbrush and toothpaste from Renewal Dental, so.
Mr. Merritt, my daughter said it was the best day ever.
Better than Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing else to come before council. We have a Ways and Means to follow shortly. We are adjourned. Thank you. call Ways and Means Committee meeting to order. We've got, like, 8,
Too many.
budget discussions tonight.
I was just indicating to some of the council members, if we take more than 30 minutes on this, you come and slap us.
Deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Let's move on then.
let's move it on to 20.
On the first one is the council budget. I did not change the salary lines on that at all when we went through this. But Steve, if you'd like to look at the bottom, those notes, those were the ones to which requested funds from us last year and what amounts that we gave. I have not been contacted by any of these except for DCPD. Corky and I will be having a meeting with them, scheduled in the next couple of weeks here. Have been contacted by, the Senior Citizen Center. They have sent me all their documentation.
Is that senior center on our budget?
It comes out of the Park and Rec budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Park and Rec.
But then they request more funding, correct?
Yeah, if they were to request more than that, then would have to come out of
Just
here.
like last year, with that
Yeah.
refrigerator.
Yeah.
Um,
And then all those requests that do come in, I will be bringing all those here to council for you guys to talk about them and decide what you guys want to do with them.
Okay. And I know, I believe you had sent out this to people who've utilized it in the past, so everybody's received the documentation. It's up to them to have submitted it.
Yep, and trying to get the word out to go onto our Facebook page, go on and the request what they need. Real simple, if they have
Okay.
questions, they can call me, I'll walk them through it.
Okay.
It's just the general information, their financials, what, their budgets are looking like, what amounts are requesting from the city, projects they wanna do, a W-9 to show their status of how they filed.
As far as those two, are we also making sure that those are aligned, like the ones that like affect Parks and Rec with what they're doing as well? So we're like not double doing some projects or things like that?
I'm hoping by bringing it to council as a whole that you'll
That can be
see
addressed that?
all requests
Okay,
that night.
great, thank you.
I've had a couple discussions with some city people. And I really think the things that I'm hearing, we need to take all these budgets, go back and take any new vehicles, new trucks, new whatever, maybe put half of it away. But we gotta get working on our wages for our workers. We can't hire anybody, they're leaving us.
But
That's
Tom,
what we
that
gotta
is
work at.
something that we actually are working on.
Right.
But we have to have more of a formalized plan to bring to you guys
Yeah.
instead of just some numbers.
But we can't do all this stuff and raise all this here and wages too and expect the taxpayers to pay that. I mean, it's too much. You gotta do one year and the rest another half a year or another year.
Just so you understand, we have done that. We have been involved now with the League of Minnesota wage study. We are a
Yep.
participant. We have access to that. I have met with Jordan, our human resources, and we spent over, I believe, 2 hours going over that. And Jordan will be at our directors or department head meeting tomorrow, presenting that very information that you see, where we have compared, we have the whole state, and we have 10 comparable cities that we are comparing to in terms of initial wage, high wage, so we will have the benefit of all that. And once we put these numbers together, then we will be talking with department heads about that very thing. Wages raise? If so, what within your budget do we need to reduce?
Okay.
We're gonna start on this pretty much starting tomorrow then?
Starting tomorrow, we'll have Jordan in with the department heads.
Cause I just look at the time frame here, we're tight.
We are tight, but for a number of reasons, you've gotten new material this year, we presented it differently. Secondly, we had to wait for that wage study. We had to enter all our data before we could have access to it. And that was completed, I believe, last week. That's when Jordan and I met. And, yeah, we understand the timeline, and we're gonna meet that timeline.
So also the thing to understand about this labor market is it's not just increasing the wage. I mean, I got jobs out there right now that we have a pretty decent wage. I got a job out there right now offering seasonal driver $30 to $35 an hour, and I'm not getting one applicant in about 3 different communities. So it's not just about the wage, it's literally about the people that actually want to work. I had a position in Fargo that I interviewed 15 people. Out of the 15 or I didn't interview 15 people, I got 15 applicants. Out of the 15 applicants, I called them all, and only about 5 of them would answer. So I tried to interview all 5 of them. I set up interviews with 5, and only 3 would show up. And then I made an offer on the 2 and they declined it. So it's just and that's not just my industry. It's other people's industries that I've talked to all around. It's just it's a tough
Labor
market out there right now to find employees.
Well, look at our manufacturing. They're struggling to find help, so.
Yeah, it's everything, and that's why when we talk about looking for a city administrator, I just think the quality that we're gonna continue to get is probably not gonna be there. I think unfortunately, I think that's the time we live in right now.
Yeah.
So we are gonna try to do a multi-pronged approach. Recognition for initial wages as they go on, top wages, absolutely.
So
And our
competitive
department heads have
quality.
been doing a good job of trying to identify people, and the police department's a good example.
Well, I mean, it seems like they go to East Grand Forks or Public Works goes county and, you
Well,
know.
and that's because of competition, the
Yeah.
competitive wages, which is what they're addressing.
Right.
I also hope that we don't do these sweeping studies of like taking things out that are necessary as we keep kicking that can down the road.
Exactly.
And then things keep breaking and falling off the wall, or we can't do the snow removal because things are broken because we haven't been able to maintain or purchase. So I think we need to also keep that in mind and not sweepingly say, get rid of everything that's brand new as a vehicle to address the situation. That's not realistic either.
But you could have 10 new trucks here, but if you don't have 10 drivers to drive them, they don't do you a bit of good.
Well, Tom, that's not
Well,
what you had
and
mentally said.
those will be down the road discussions.
Right.
You know, this is just tonight on these
Yes.
8 things.
You could look at the other presentations that we've done, because they had all those in their capital improvements.
Yep.
And if you need copies of those, I can give you
Oh,
copies of those, because I don't believe that there was that many new trucks.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that hypothetically, if you had 10 new trucks, you gotta have 10 drivers.
Yep.
If you don't have the drivers, the trucks don't do you any good.
But you gotta also remember, Tom, it's about keeping our employees safe. You can't have them operating obsolete equipment.
Yeah.
But I do, Crookston is struggling. You have D, that's part of their MIF application to hire 35 people, and they have to maintain that number for a period of 2 years, or they don't get that job creation dollars.
Yep.
So there's stress out there, and I know that New Flyer too, they were supposed to hire 35 and maintain for 2 years for their MIF dollars.
And you got ag innovation coming along, and
Yeah.
possibly the crush facility and different things, it's gonna be a tough go.
It is.
See, the key to this is get more housing, and then we got more tax money there coming in, and we don't have this headache.
That's definitely something we need to look. Well, yeah, I was gonna say.
Simple fix, we haven't talked about housing.
So I would encourage you guys, if you know of organizations that you sit on, and they're going to be requesting funds from the city, to please get online or come into the office, and I'll give them what they need to do to get that done so that we can discuss those.
Great. Do we,
Then
well, when these are presented, like the Tri-Valley and all those, do we see like what was given last year too comparatively, and then like what exactly they're asking? It's line item, what they're asking for, correct?
Yes, they are supposed to give you their budget and what they're asking it for, and how they're going to use those dollars.
Okay. And like what you've received so far as like financials meets your standard?
Yep.
I just felt like there's a little questionable financials last year and some of the ones that would be nice to have had something a little bit more clear.
Yes.
Okay,
Very much so.
thank you.
Did you guys give her?
So,
and the whole thing?
let's move on to the mayor budget. Your Honor, is there anything in your budget to which you feel you want to change, delete, add?
Bottom one that says
It's like the same from, previous years.
That's why I left it.
It's okay with me.
We could cut 7,600 bucks there on the top.
No, that's.
I don't got a problem with that. I don't travel. If you need to lower that $500, I don't care.
I thought it was
Well,
10.
travel also is your training. If you were to go to a seminar,
Well, if I'm reelected, I probably would.
okay, well then we better leave that in there for that opportunity.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go on to city administrator, and I will let Corky discuss this one.
Okay, you'll notice that there is approximately a $90,000 increase. Just so you know, the administrator now has taken over the city clerk. The city clerk position has moved from finance to administration. So the salary, the benefits that you see, those are the basic changes in the amount of the bottom line from 261 to 352. Salaries, benefits, travel, the city clerk is now under the administrative. And that's really the only significant change other than, yeah, that's really the significant change that you'll see there. And that's all I have on that.
Any questions with that one? Okay. The next one then is the finance department. And with that restructuring, actually the clerk then comes out of my budget, and then Erin, the new person, goes into my budget. But she is 50% finance and 50% water, because she's going to be the backup person for Lynn in the water department. Or if it's really busy, she can help take payments and do the things when people come in with their water bills. So that's why her salary is put like that. Otherwise, the rest of these are all the same from the formula of the 3.5% that we did for increasing. We did increase the travel and training from 5,000 to 8,000. With Jordan and Aaron, myself, felt that it was probably important to keep up with a lot of the new things that are happening out there, and I believe it gives you a good team building. You get to meet other colleagues in your field and bounce ideas off of, so that's why I increased that. Otherwise, there really wasn't any more significant changes to my budget this year at all. Any questions? Then, the election budget, our city clerk is who is responsible for these elections. I trained this year to be an election judge, and I was surprised how much actually goes into that. The classes you have to take and tests, and I told Ashley, I said, you do more than I thought you did with these elections.
And I witnessed that as well, the number of judges she has to train. She has to be available when they come in. They take all of the training, or not all, most of it online. So she has to be here, and that was really an awakening for me as well. She spends a number of days training and you can only do one at a time.
Yep.
You can't train multiple because they have to get their training and then take their test, and you can't have more than one in there at a time. So we were able to use the office that Robert had used previously, and Ashley was going back and forth, and spent a lot of time.
Yeah. So after visiting with her, we took the miscellaneous supplies. She wanted 8,000 in there because some of the equipment that she is using is going to be needing to be replaced in the next couple of years. So by adding 8,000 in there this year, we can put that into reserves at the end of the year, and then we'll do another 8. So that she'll be able, by the next time that we have an election, be able to have better equipment to work with. And then that 10,000, that is actually a software license that we entered into a few years ago that we have to pay.
So when you go into reserves, is that allocated in reserves that for the next year for that specific thing? Or is it going
It's
to
not
general budget?
specific to a year, but it is reserved as election miscellaneous supplies, 8,000. And then I like to add a note in the system, what it's really for.
We've never seen it. I know they've done that in the past, but it just goes in the general account, which then it disappears, and all of a sudden the following year, we had it budgeted and it's not there anymore. It's like, well, where did it go?
Yep. That's why these notes that N-code allows you to do, is very nice. It's a good reminder. The next one is auditing. This is the one where Brady Marks in the past has, had their dollars come out of. We signed a contract, or Corky did, for, I believe it was $35,000 this year with them. So I would recommend, if you guys are in agreement, to change that to 35.
And this is to satisfy some of the suggestions they've made?
Actually, the suggestions that they made is kind of the same one every year about our audited financial statements. They would prefer that an outside entity audits them rather than them, so that the liability doesn't fall upon them.
And they've made they will be making recommendations to us about appropriate firms to help prepare our financial statements. Quite frankly, that was one of the controls they talked about, and we have suggested to them, we'll be glad to do that. You just tell us who, and that's a rare kind of thing. I spoke with Tracy today, and she said she's having difficulty finding accountants who do prepare financial statements, but we've said you suggest to us, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Because they want a licensed CPA outside of the city and outside of Brady Marts, or outside the scope of someone that I know.
So basically, if they're outsourcing, why don't we look at, is it possible to look for someone else?
Yes, and Corky and I have talked about going out for RFPs for this.
We've had serious discussions.
So I'm just wondering if they're outsourcing, it seems like it's kind of crunch time when we get the audit from them. Will we get it earlier possible?
Well,
Tracy had indicated that we would have it done in April this year. And
Here we are.
So maybe we'll be reviewing RFPs then.
It took some coercion on my part to get this to the point we got tonight.
Did we not have some issues with the length of time it took last year as well?
Exactly.
Yep.
And a couple of the other colleagues of mine with other cities are actually going out for RFPs also, because they've experienced issues and problems.
Great.
All right, legal expense. I visited with Corky on this, and this is something that we left the same. I can let Corky explain the difference between the substitute attorney, what we do there, and then the professional fees, that would be his agency.
Well, the professional substitute attorney, we do at times have conflicts in the city with the law firm that we use, and we have to then select an attorney or firm to handle those. We typically share with East Grand Forks. And I will tell you, they do a good job for us, but they are just about double the rate that we are charged by the firm that I was associated with.
Is that where the dog bite thing was, that same firm?
That's, yes, and I can explain that to you. Just, it's kind of a digression, so give me a couple extra minutes over that 30 before you slap me. We had a declaration by our chief of police that there was a dangerous dog. A citizen who owns the dog has the right to appeal. When there's an appeal, then there's a hearing judge selected. Typically, we selected another attorney here in town, not from the firm that I was associated with, but that particular attorney who's done these in the past had a conflict in this matter, so we referred it to the attorney in East Grand Forks. That attorney heard the case, made the decision, and then sent us a bill. And the bill speaks for itself, but that's what was charged. So these substitute attorneys are for those kind of cases in the criminal matters or in civil matters like this, where we have to pay someone else. And I believe they bill at $250 an hour, and the firm I was associated with, I believe, bills at $140. Okay? And professional fees, I've left that at what it is. We're gonna take a look at that, to see, again, I'll be in discussions with them about, do they think that's realistic, to leave it the same. I know historically there's been a $5 to $10 an hour increase each year, but we'll see what they have to say, and the attorney that will be handling these matters typically are the younger attorneys who bill at a slightly lesser rate, so.
How many different law firms we got in town?
Oh, we have two.
Two?
Well, three, I guess. I'm not sure the status of the Swanson law firm.
Okay, yeah.
If they're still practicing, if it's part-time, but essentially it's the Rust law firm and now the Harbert law firm.
So with that being said, if you know, we use East Grand Forks, would we be better off to check with the two in town, and if one has a conflict, do the other one?
The Dykle law firm, I'm gonna call it Dykle, but the Rust law firm just has too many conflicts because they do defense work. Again, I don't know the status of the Swanson law firm because it's a single individual who.
Right.
So I understand your point, but it really isn't feasible.
Okay.
And Gallstead Law Firm does prosecution for East Grand Forks, and we have a relationship where they send stuff to this law firm, and this law firm sends.
Right.
And Tom, we actually still use Flannery and Hood, that is down in the cities, for like the unions, negotiations, and contract things and stuff like that. We still use them down there for those things.
Okay.
Any questions with that one? Okay. Moving on to the community development. Terry did meet with Corky and I about a week ago, and we kind of went through this budget with her. That top line of salaries is at 102, and that number is made up of her salary, the 60% that the city pays, and then her part-time, or I shouldn't say part-time, but her assistant then that would be working for her. Because that was a request that she had made, that she needs an assistant to be on this. So then that increases then your other benefits that the city pays as far as your para and health insurance and that.
Corky, has the new director been officially announced yet?
It has not.
Okay.
It's been reported.
Yeah.
But I've talked with her, and she said she'd just like to construct her own bio, if you will,
Sure.
and as soon as we talk to her again, I'd like to encourage her to do that now. She's basically 30 days out.
Yeah.
She will be commencing September 19th here in Crookston. She's been really good about meeting either in person or over the phone once a week. She's met with Ryan, myself, she's met with Ryan and I, she's met with the staff out at VTP, and she is ready to go.
Great.
She's anxious to be here.
Yeah, we're anxious to have her.
When you say assistant, is she gonna have more than what's out there right now?
Absolutely.
Gonna be one more person?
Teresa is just so busy with what she has on her plate and deal with what they have, that they wouldn't be able to devote the time to this new person, what she's gonna need as an assistant.
Nor should they. Their expertise is housing, we believe, and that's where they need to be. And economic development, if what has been represented to us about with this person that we've hired, she's a go-getter for economic development. Well-connected with DEED, well-connected with various agencies in the state, very familiar with programs. And as she told me the other day, she said, I need that assistant because I keep two of them busy down here in Monoman. So I need one for sure.
And she does have a lot of great contacts with these agencies. She knows their name, and she's developed these relationships of which she's bringing to the city, which is gonna be nice. And she's got lots of contacts for grants and getting resources for incomes.
I totally agree with that. That's, I mean, after seeing all the stuff that Teresa's got out there, I mean, this will alleviate some of the stuff that she's doing right now, correct?
Yep.
She and I have tried to split this up, and I've tried to take more of the EDA stuff, and she's still overwhelmed. And I've tried to use.
How much by getting this assistant, and Do you have a feel of how much extra time that would give her? I mean, is there a?
Give who?
Teresa, I mean, is it gonna, is there a, somehow we can see how much extra time it's gonna, how much time is she spending on? Cause I assume you like developing all the meetings for our cheetah meetings and all that stuff, that's not gonna be her job, right? That's gonna be.
That's correct. That will be the job of our economic development director's assistant. Teresa will still be involved, obviously, with the housing presentation component, but this assistant will be assisting the EDA director in developing agendas, doing timelines, preparing press releases or notices. That's all gonna fall to this assistant.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been hired yet.
That has not been hired yet.
But Teresa
So
will-
your assistant's salary is in this 102,000, is that the
Yes,
60%?
Yeah, 60% is what the city cost is, 40% is
Oh.
paid by Cheetah. But, you know, Teresa's just been so busy wearing different hats and stuff, she hasn't had the time to train Jill on everything, and she will show Jill more things as time goes on. So I think, you know, once you get down the road a bit and Teresa's got some time, she'll be able to train Jill to be a great
Yeah.
backup, and, you know, then this assistant here too will be able to help them.
And depending on how the housing component works out, there are more programs in housing
Yeah.
than we participate in now. So there's a possibility that housing may need a third, but that's down the
So,
road.
I mean, the way I look at this, and I've seen it in my industry too, if a person goes on vacation and they dread going on vacation because what they have to come back to, you need more help. So, and I think we have to look at not just her, but maybe there's other departments out there that are in that same situation. Now, it's a matter of not being able to hire help and not being able to, because it's not in your budget. But I think we, as a city and as Cheetah, we need to recognize that, because that's miserable for people. And nowadays, the reason why people are leaving jobs to other jobs is because they have too much responsibility and too much work that they're doing at their current job. They just feel overwhelmed and they go to someplace else.
And we have looked at that at the department head level, all the departments, the fire department, the police department, public works department have all expressed to us that they sense that, they see that among themselves, especially the police department. You know, they're double shifting, they're carrying over because they're two people down right now.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of overtime, but a lot of tired officers. So, but that's just an example.
Right.
I would also say that cross-training people as well, so it isn't that they're waiting till they come back to do the work. I think especially in the housing is very imperative, so that stuff isn't left, because I know there's some pretty strict deadlines for when things need to be submitted, so, yeah,
So there you have it.
okay.
I think we made our 30 minutes.
The only thing I would like to circle back just to the council one again. I meant to also bring up about the council approved budget item. Want to talk about the year-to-date actual there. That line item is where, after the budgets are done and the city administrator comes to you guys and asks you about something coming up, what's in that 141,000 right now is your SRF consulting bills that are coming in for the building studies to see of all our facilities. We've got the Red Lake Corridor study, all those bills are coming out of here. So those add up, and that's where they get coded always, is to that council approved line. So that's why that is so
Way
much
over.
in the deficit.
Okay.
And I just wanted to point that out.
Which we will then submit for funding from,
So,
Yes, and actually today we got 7 payments in
great,
on that Red Lake Corridor study.
great.
All right, well, that's all that I have then.
Anything else?
That-
We are adjourned. Thank you,
you.
everybody.